pursue their educations. And thank you, Hillsborough Community College, for hosting us today. My wife Jill is a community college professor, and I've known for a long, long time that community colleges, she says, are the secret, best kept secret in America in terms of our education system. This is just one reason why. You help people take the next step in their lives to get the training and accreditation they need, including our vets who, after years of dedication to our country, are ready to build civilian lives of meaning and of opportunity. Less than 1% of the population of our country chooses to serve our country in the military. Less than 1% risk everything to defend our nation, our values, and everything we hold dear. And the other 99% of us, we owe them. We owe them our thanks, our gratitude, and our respect. In my view, based on reports of interviews, President Trump has proven he's unfit to hold the office of the presidency time again, but nowhere are his faults more glaring and more offensive, to me at least, than when it comes to his denigration of our service members, veterans, wounded warriors, the fallen. Quite frankly, I won't say get angry, quite frankly, it makes me very upset the way he gets in front of a camera and crows about how much he has done for veterans and then turns around and insults our service members and fallen heroes when the camera's off. Calls them suckers and losers. My son Bo, as a U.S. attorney, volunteered to go 6 months to Kosovo, helped him set up a criminal justice system. He did such a good job there, the Kosovo government named a highway after him, erected a war memorial. Then he had to get an exemption because he's Attorney General of the state of Delaware to go with his unit to Iraq. He went for a year in Iraq. Came home with a Bronze Star. He's gone now, but he was no sucker. He was a man like many of the people he served with, women and men, who served with him, served in a way that they should be honored as heroes, not in some derogatory way. They didn't come home losers. They came home heroes. And I think it's an absolute disgrace. Donald Trump has no idea about the ideas that animate women and men who sign up to serve. Duty, honor, country. That's what service and patriotism is all about. Duty, honor, country. As reported from a very reliable source and confirmed by many major outlets, that he said to a fallen father, member of the service, the father of a fallen soldier, who was himself was a member of the service, when he's standing by the gravesite, he allegedly said, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" What was in it for them? Donald Trump doesn't seem to be able to conceive the idea of selfless service, of being part of a cause that's bigger than yourself. Every day I carry with me a card. I've been doing this for the better part of 14 years. It's my schedule. On the back of it, wherever the schedule ends, there's always a black box that I have here. It says daily troop updates. U.S. troops died in Iran and Afghanistan. 6,000, as of today, 923. Not roughly 6,900, 923. Because every one of these fallen angels left behind a family, left behind a community. There's an empty seat at that table now. U.S. troops wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan, 53,192. Not over 53,000. I've flown back on those C-130s, caskets draped coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. been there at Dover Air Base. Those bodies come home. You know, think of all the folks, and you all know it, come home with unseen injuries. Tens of thousands come home with unseen injuries, post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, mental health challenges. As a nation, I've been criticized for this over the last 30 years when I've said it, but as a nation we have many obligations to our children, to the elderly, to the poor, to those in need. But I believe we only have one truly sacred obligation: to prepare and equip our troops that we send into harm's way, and to care for them and their families when they return. We owe our veterans the future of security and dignity that they've earned, and it starts by protecting the VA, restoring the trust in the VA, because the VA must be the premier provider of healthcare services to promote our veterans' overall well-being. That's why the VA has more specialized knowledge about how to treat veterans' unique health needs, beyond physical and mental, than the private sector does by far. Provides a community of understanding and support, facilitates accountability for veterans' health and well-being as a whole. That is absolutely vital for successful outcomes. We have a responsibility to ensure that we're providing veterans with world-class health care they deserve in every situation. That means hiring more doctors and medical personnel and professionals to work at the VA, including positions essential to veterans' health care, nurses and psychologists. We need to offer these medical professionals the incentive to join the VA. We need to pay them a competitive salary in the private sector. We also have to do more to build a pipeline of doctors and nurses, especially in rural areas. If you live far away from a VA center, it's absolutely essential that you can see a doctor closer to home. That's why during our administration, President Obama signed the VA Access, Choice, and Accountability Act into law in 2014. President Trump's like to say he passed the VA choice. Just like everything else he seems to be saying, it's a figment of imagination, it's a flat lie. Now we need to keep working to implement the Mission Act effectively and efficiently so that it works for all our veterans, while always making sure community care providers are held to the same high quality standard as VA centers. We're going to make sure our women veterans and our LGBTQ veterans get the service and respect they deserve from culturally competent providers. And critically, we're going to make sure that no veteran is locked out of treatment for conditions related to toxic exposure from burn pits or traumatic brain injuries they experienced in the line of duty. We made that mistake with Agent Orange. As a senator, I fought for decades to help Vietnam veterans get access and help. We were able to expand on it during the Obama-Biden administration. We can't let this be delayed again. Denying access because a vet could not prove a direct connection if you were exposed to Agent Orange was wrong. It's to be presumed if the ailment you have is caused by your exposure to Agent Orange that you get treatment. We've got to seriously tackle the mental health crisis we have. A suicide epidemic is claiming far too many of our veterans and service members. You know, one of the saddest things when my son came home after a year in Iraq, he was back as Attorney General. A week before Christmas, he came over to the house. He said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do." There was a Marine veteran who had been deployed a total of 6 times, if my memory is correct, who was in a relatively a modern, upscale neighborhood, middle-class neighborhood. And you get up in the morning and get out, and I think it was a Dodge Ram, started down the street in front of his house, which was no sidewalks. Saw a woman walking her dog, ran over her, killed her, killed the dog, put her in the back of his pickup truck, took her down to I-95 right by where there was the all sand pile for emergencies. Molested her, put her back in the truck, came home, called the state police and said, I just killed someone. There was a voice in my head saying I had to kill someone. I had to kill someone. Turned himself in. You know, latest data suggests that almost 600 veterans as well are dying by suicide every year. Just here in Florida, 600 a year. It's devastating. There aren't any easy answers to this, but we can do so much better than we're doing now. We have an obligation to do so much better. We have to help our heroes understand that it's an honorable thing to do and take strength to reach out and ask for help if they're suffering from unseen wounds. We're so accustomed to being asked not to ask for anything. We have to end the stigma surrounding mental health treatment. When they do reach out, when they call the crisis hotline, walk into a VA hospital, visit a VA center for counseling, we have to make sure, damn sure, that there's no one turns them away. No one tells them they have to wait. Part of it's also making sure the veterans feel a sense of security and connection and mission in the civilian world, as they did on active duty. Better employment opportunities, meaningful career trajectories, education like the one student vets get here at Hillsborough Community College, which translates into greater opportunities for our vets, not just put money on the pockets of for-profit fraudulent outfits, because we got to stop that. It all matters. Especially matters how their families are treated. John Milton, the poet, wrote these lines. They also serve who only stand and wait. Well, military families, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, they serve every single day. Tending to their specific needs and unique challenges should never be an afterthought for us. It's a national security imperative. Fulfilling our promise to our veterans and our military families, caregivers, and survivors is critical to ensuring we not only meet our obligations, but the future generations continue to volunteer to serve. My wife Jill, she worked on this more than about anyone. During our administration, she and Michelle Obama teamed up and started an outfit called Joining Forces, a nationwide initiative to drive concrete commitments to support service members, veterans and their families and caregivers and survivors. To help make sure teachers are equipped to better meet the needs of military children in their classrooms. Help bring down some of the barriers, because the vast majority of those kids in the school have no idea a little Johnny or Mary or Jamal is worried because his mommy or daddy is stationed in a foreign land. It makes it so much harder for military spouses to find good jobs and build their careers. We have to change it, and we're working on that. Working with leaders like Lauren Weiner, hiring our heroes, the Military Spouses Employment Program. For example, make it easy to carry your professional credentials with you from one state to another when your spouse moves. Harris-Biden administration is going to relaunch that effort and keep pushing further to make it easier for military spouses and veterans to find meaningful careers, to ensure teachers know how to support military children in their classrooms, and to improve support for caregivers and survivors so much more than we do now. This isn't a theoretical commitment. It's personal. The year that my son Bo deployed to Iraq with his National Guard unit, that's when Jill and I learned what it really means to be part of a military family. You end up praying every night and every morning for the safety of your child far from home in the middle of a war zone, facing unknown dangers. Every family gathering, they're missed. Every time the children ask why mommy or daddy isn't there to tuck them in, it hurts. These are the challenges most Americans never have to face. These are the women and men and their families. They're the absolute best that our country has to offer. They're the backbone of America. Some of the most meaningful moments of my vice presidency of those 8 years was in Thanksgiving. We'd host a Thanksgiving meal for the wounded veterans, the vice presidential residence. We spend every Christmas Day visiting the patients at Walter Reed Hospital. I spend time with our wounded warriors in trauma centers all across the country and around the world. Do you know what the message I often heard when I walk in and say, "Soldier, Sailor, Marine, what can I do for you?" Whether they're amputees or not, their arms out, they try to pull themselves up and try to salute. They say, "Yes, sir. I want to go back to my unit. Can you get me back to my unit?" Does that sound like the heart and the grit and patriotism of a sucker or a loser? Sounds like heroism to me. Sounds like what patriotism is all about. Our military is the greatest fighting force in the history of the world, and that's not hyperbole. It's the God's truth. Deserves a commander-in-chief who respects their sacrifice, understands their service, and will never betray the values they defend. They deserve better than goes on now with their commander-in-chief. And if I have the honor of ever serving as the next commander-in-chief, I want every single member of the armed forces, our veterans, their families, their caregivers, and their survivors to know I will never treat you with anything other than the honor and respect and dignity you deserve. I'll always have your back, like you've had our back, the country's back. Thank you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
Wow.
Vice President Biden, for your compelling remarks. Thank you to Hillsborough Community College for hosting this event, and thank you to the viewers around the country who are watching today. I have the great honor of being not only a participant, but a moderator for today's events. My name is Lauren Weiner, and I'm the CEO of WWC Global. In 2004, my husband received military orders to Naples, Italy. As I prepared for our adventure, I soon realized that moving would bring a myriad of unexpected career challenges in particular. There was a formal policy on base that prohibited local military spouses from applying for professional level jobs. I had come from the White House and realized quickly that my career was at a total standstill. Fast forward 16 years, and not only have we created jobs for almost 300 military spouses and veterans, many of whom have moved with the military and with WWC Global many times, but we are also one of the largest women-owned small businesses here in the Tampa Bay area, and the second largest privately held government contracting firm in the region. WWC Global is proud to have won the largest government contract award to a woman-owned business in U.S. Special Operations Command history here in Tampa. Thank you. All of this because me, my co-founder Donna Honeycutt, and so many other talented professional military spouses wanted to obtain meaningful employment in Naples, Italy so many years ago. We realized that much as we may want to, WWC could not hire all of the talented military spouses around the world, although we're still trying. In 2010, we launched a nonprofit called In Gear Career, now part of the Hiring Our Heroes program, to give back to this incredible population that had helped us grow. We also started Homefront Rising, an annual training program to help military spouses get engaged in the political process across the political spectrum. Military spouses are 4 times more likely to be unemployed or underemployed than their civilian counterparts, a 24% unemployment rate pre-COVID. This is a staggering number. But hiring military spouses isn't simply the patriotic or right thing to do. Hiring military spouses is good for our economy, it's good for individual businesses, and it's good for our force readiness. Military spouse employment, done right, impacts all of the other issues that we'll talk about here today. mental health, transition, quality of life all get better when military spouses are afforded the opportunity to contribute their intellect, ingenuity, and professional background to our communities. Mr. Vice President, thank you for what you and Dr. Biden have done for all military families. The Joining Forces Initiative profoundly impacted efforts around military spouse employment and other military family issues. Thank you for inviting us here today.
Thank you for what your company's done. Look, you all know this because you're veterans and many of you have spouses, and not all of you. I don't want to presume anything, but the fact is that, you know, one of the things that I found particularly difficult when watching what happened during the heavy deployments back in Iraq and Afghanistan before I was able to get permission to bring home 150,000 troops was that a significant portion of those troops were either reservists or National Guard. And they did not have the camaraderie of, if they stayed back on the base, at least with other people being in the same circumstance. And what I found was, as we traveled around the world and around the country, is that the lack of a sense of being understood what's happening, just being able to know that somebody else knows what you're going through, that sense of loss, that even if everything's fine, even if your husband or wife is in good physical shape and safe where they're ever deployed, but this idea that, you know, you're still, every night you're taking care of the homework by yourself, or you're the only one being able to go to the school play, or you're the only one there, you know, for the birthday and no one's there. I mean, it does impact on family solidarity. It does impact on a sense of community that you have. And my wife was part of an organization in Delaware called Boots on the Ground. I know that you're familiar with